chance to sit down with head coach of the Cheshire Phoenix, John Coffino, and I asked him, what did he think of the BBL and what was his expectations into coming, and this is what he had to say. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to be here. Thanks.
No worries. Now, very quickly, to just bring people up to speed with yourself, it's fair to say that you are an established basketball coach. You've coached in America, you've coached in the National Basketball Association Development League, the NBA D-League there, also in Nigeria, Qatar and over here in the UK. Could you tell us maybe some of the highlights of your career there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I started out in college. I was very fortunate to play for a very established and Hall of Famer, a guy named Ralph Arrieta, who was my mentor. And he said, "You're going to be a coach someday, and I'm going to see you at Madison Square Garden." And I was like, "Yeah, right. No, you're going to be on TV." And I was like, "Okay." And then we started. I was just very lucky to step into that school, and we went into the nationals. So I said, "Oh, this is easy." And then I moved on to Division I, and we went to the NCAAs. March Madness. We made that at Iona College, and then Niagara came calling and said, "We have a higher position," and Iona said, "You need to go to that." They didn't want me to leave, but they said you should to move up the ladder. And I just been building my resume and networking, and went to St. Peter's. We went from last to first. We had the #1 scorer in the country, who's playing in Europe now, and Kedron Clark. And then I took a year off, and the NBA called a friend of mine, Jeff Rulin, who's an NBA All-Star, and then he got the job, and I became his assistant. And then he left after a year, and they hired me for a few years, and I got a great experience with the NBA, made a lot of connections there, and then I went into scouting and ended up overseas in Qatar, Kenya, China. Came back to the States, coached a couple of minor league teams. We were very successful. The last about 5 or 6 teams I've coached, I've been very fortunate to have great players, and we've been successful. So winning's been a culture for pretty much the last 10 years of my career, but it's all because I have great players.
Well, it's fair to say that you are quite a philosophical coach as well. For anyone that follows you on Twitter or Facebook, you're constantly posting up little sayings. Is there somebody that you look up to as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, Bob Hill, who's a he's coached 5 teams in the NBA, head coach. He's one of my mentors. Mitch Kupchak, who's the general manager of the Lakers, and Jeff Rulin. I have a lot of guys that I lean on, that I bounce things off of. One thing, it's a small circle of coaches, and obviously I'm a big Popovich fan of San Antonio. The way he's a player's coach, and the way he treats his players, and just the way he carries himself, and stresses defense and togetherness. So I'm a big fan of his philosophies, but there are so many great coaches out there. It's just I was a Pat Riley fan growing up, and which is why I started putting gel in my hair, and so it's been. I have a lot of guys to thank.
Now, how do you feel about the BBL as a whole and the competition it brings?
I came here with an open mind. Was told that it wasn't a strong league as other leagues, and to tell you the truth, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the talent. I'm very impressed with how the clubs operate. I'm very impressed with some of the coaching. It's been a pleasant surprise, but I did come with an open mind, and I think it's got a lot of room to grow, but I think it's heading in the right direction. And I really enjoyed this year, the competition. I heard this has been one of the most even kind of seasons from top to bottom, and I thought so from the beginning. I thought any team could beat anybody, and to have the teams at the bottom with 8 wins, 10 wins, that's pretty impressive. And to be where we're at, to play against all these teams, which on any given night someone could beat you, I think it is a great accomplishment for those guys in that gym.
Now, you mentioned there the other leagues as well. To anybody that doesn't know, obviously there is European League basketball. Some may even say that's the next step up from the BBL. Then you go into the Development League and the NBA. Do you think that Euro leagues, being on the doorstep of the BBL, do affect it?
I think that a lot of players that are homegrown here would like to go into the Euro League, and then they feel that they always come back here because of their citizenship. I think there's a lot of talent in this country. I think players, you should never get in the way of people's dreams, and I always say that to players: follow your dreams, but you should not overdo it and go too high too fast. There are some great countries out there to play for. I think Spain is probably the top. It's probably the closest to the NBA. But the way they run their programs from the grassroots is a perfect example. And I think the British League has the talent. I think if they put together an all-star team, they could beat a lot of teams in the Euro League. There are some great players here individually, but I do think that if they could keep some of the players home, they'll be even stronger.
That's fair to say, Coach. So if you could entice any new player to the BBL, what would you say to draw them in?
I would say come here because it's a lot tougher than you think. It's a lot more challenging, and if you do well, I think you could write your own ticket. There's a lot of guys here that use this as a springboard or stepping stone. Or a lot of guys come here and stay forever. And it's a great place to live. The league is fantastic. But if you're a young player coming out and you want to build your resume, this is not some league that you take for granted, but it's a great place if you could be successful. It's a great place to build your resume and to keep going higher and higher. But it's not the lowest league and it's not the highest league, but it's a place where you could definitely be challenged and it's really good for your career.
Now, would you say it's fair that a lot of media coverage these days isn't on the British basketball scene? I mean, you've only got to look at the likes of British netball, and suddenly that's had a media coverage burst to the point where they're getting 2 to 3 live games a week now on Sky Sports. Could you ever see that for the BBL, or do you think maybe it's not as... It could do with the new poster boy, maybe like another lease of life?
Well, obviously this is a football country, soccer, football, and there's I don't think that's ever going to change. There's some great fans here and great teams, clubs. I won't single any out, but they're avid about their football. I think netball is growing, but basketball definitely. I see down the road getting a lot of exposure. I just think they need to come to the games. When they come to the games and see how things are operated, I think they'll want to get on board. Teams like London and Manchester, these big city teams, they could be the springboks for media coverage. Being places where there's a lot of media. I just think we got to get them to come to the games more, and I think we need to do a better job of marketing ourselves as far as getting the media to come.
Now, this is your debut season in the BBL here. How much work did the Knicks need, in your opinion, to get ready and actually challenge for the season?
Well, no one at this level, it's not just coaching basketball. It's community stuff. It's promoting your team. It's getting out to the kids, to the schools. It's not just the 2 hours of practice a day and the games on the weekends. There's a lot more that goes into it. You wear many hats. But the Knicks Cheshire's an established program. They have great tradition with the Jets. Robbie Pierce, did some great things here, and he's the one that got me to come here. I don't think that they needed much to get going. We just needed to have a successful season, and the fans will come, and they have. The place, Northgate's been packed. That's the one thing, is they have a built-in fan base that's second to none, and we even built on it this year even more. So winning helps, exciting basketball helps, and the way our players are, they're so endearing and accessible to the fans, and that's what I've heard a lot of feedback from people, how great our players are with the kids and the fans, and before the game, after the game, in public, wherever we go, our guys are just great.
Now, it's not quite over yet, but personally yourself, how do you feel that the 2014-15 season's gone for the Knicks?
I think, I was, as a coach, you'd like a couple of games back that you lost. We didn't lose many this year. We still have a couple to go. So I'm going to reserve my opinion on the year, but up until now, I'm okay with where we're at. I think it's pretty accurate where we're at. We could be a little higher in the ladder, maybe third. We lost a couple of close ones, and as a coach, you blame yourself for that, and obviously, you just second guess yourself. But to have 24 wins in the league that's so competitive, and we've made some changes this year, which doesn't help you when you're trying to have some continuity. But I'm pleased with where we're at, but I'm not satisfied completely until we cut down the nets in the O2, and if that happens, then I'll be real happy.
Understandable. Would you say it's fair, or would you say that this season, with it being your debut, that silverware was on the agenda, or were you just going to play it as it was?
Absolutely. Our goal was to bring this club silverware, the fans, the ownership, the community. We got knocked out in a couple of the trophy and cup tournaments, but we still have a chance to win the championship. And we're one of the favorites. We're one of a few teams that can win it all, and we definitely had high expectations, a lot of pressure, and it's not over. But yeah, we did. We didn't want to just be competitive. We wanted to bring some silverware home, and it's disappointing that we couldn't so far, but we're still in the hunt.
And would you say there's a point within this season that the team suddenly clicked and everything fell into place?
It's a long season. We had our 10-game winning streak. We had a couple other winning streaks. We really haven't had any losing streaks, knock wood. So we're excited to finish the season strong, and I think that there's some great harmony now with the players. The locker room is much more a happier place, and the bus rides are nice, and there's no we're like a family. We're gonna bicker, we're gonna fight with each other, we're gonna disagree. But we've gotten through all of that. My guys have persevered. They've been through a lot. They're like a weathered stone. They're still there, and they're not. And it's a testament to them how strong they are. And so I don't know at what point, because we've had our ups and downs and peaks and valleys, but we'd like to be peaking right now, and that's what we're striving for.
Well, what would you say up to this point has been the highlight then for the season?
I think the run we made, the 10-game winning streak, was really incredible, because our guys felt invincible. They felt like every game they played, they could win, and they still feel that way. But the Christmas break is what messed us up. I mean, it slowed us down. We had a long break, and we came back, and we weren't ourselves, and we were inconsistent. No excuse, but that's what happened.
And obviously, alongside that, would you say there's been quite a bit of a low point in the season?
Just losing certain players for whatever reason was tough. Some of those guys I had personal relationships with, and also losing the close games. It's just that's probably been the toughest part. When I love winning, but I hate losing even more. So any of those games, I'm gonna have nightmares about. But that's basically really was the low points. Losing at the buzzer a couple of times, losing at home to teams that we should have beaten. But that you can't worry about it. You got to keep moving on.
So if you had the option to redo anything this season, what would it be?
I wouldn't change much, to tell you the truth. I think that I try to keep a full roster for most of the season. We didn't have 10 guys. When we had our 10 guys, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, just the way it happened. When we had a full roster and we could practice 10 guys in practice, that's when we made our run. And we could rest certain guys, and it's just a luxury to have a deep team. As you know, Newcastle and Leicester, they have deep teams, and so that's why they're first and second. There's no question about it. They have guys that they could rest. If they have injuries, they could compensate for that. So, I really wouldn't do much, but knowing now that I have a year under my belt, what it takes to be at that level, I would like to think that having a strong bench and a deep bench can take you a long way.
Now, you did achieve some accreditation throughout this season. Yourself and some of your players actually picked up BBL Player and Coach Awards as well. How did that make you feel?
The Coach Award means absolutely nothing, because that means the team did well, right? It's nothing that I did. I wasn't on the court, so that when the team wins, that's because of them. They won, and so they give it to the coach. The player awards, that's different. That's an individual thing, and Damon's gotten Player of the Month 4 times, and a whole bunch of our players have made Team of the Week and the bench, and that to me is more deserving. But if you ask any of those players, they'll trade all that in for a trophy, a team trophy.
So heading into the off season now and next season, what are your plans?
Well, I haven't really thought much about it. I'm really focused on winning that championship. But really right now we're just focused on the Newcastle game for Friday, and then we'll take it from there. But I am going to work this summer. I'm going to be working some camps. That I know. That's my immediate future. I had a plan for that, but right now I'm not thinking about anything else. Because it only becomes a major distraction.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the atmosphere in the Northgate has been electric and you're really impressed and supportive of the fans there. Are you hoping the fans are going to travel with you when you move to your new complex in Ellesmere Port?
I mean, we hope it's a bigger place. We'll have to put together a winning team because the fans will come when you're winning. It'll have to be an exciting brand of basketball. It'll have to be, an engaging kind of intimate atmosphere. But I think the beginning they'll come because of the novelty of the new arena, and it's a beautiful place. And even though it's twice the size of Northgate as far as fans, well, we did a great job this year filling that place. Everybody, all the volunteers and all the people that put that place together, and the tickets and everything. It really, really means a lot to myself and the players.
And last but not least, Coach, if I could give you Doc Brown's DeLorean, and you could go back in time and pick any NBA player or any player that's ever played basketball at the prime, who would you start in 5 be?
Larry Bird, Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete at the point, Larry Bird at the forward. Who else would I take? Any present players? Probably not. I'd take Michael Jordan. He's the best player of all time, but I'm worried about chemistry, so my center would be Bill Russell.
Okay.
Another Celtic. And who else can I take? And Magic Johnson. So Pistol Pete, Michael Jordan in the backcourt, Magic, Larry, Bill Russell.
That sounds like quite a good squad. Coach, we'd like to thank you for coming today. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we hope you get that trophy.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Love your show.
Well, that was interesting now. I mean, you opened my eyes a little bit there, but obviously he's talking from experience.
Well, the guy's been around the game for a few years. As he said in the interview there, he's been in Nigeria, Qatar, he's been in the NBA D-League himself. Even just when he gets stuck on a choice, phone some of the NBA coaches. A guy of that experience, and he's in our league, sitting there, coaching our teams, and you're thinking, okay, the guy knows what he's on about. On the hindsight, though, he says it's all about having good players in the team. He's done so well because he's got good players. Yeah, at the Phoenix at the moment, you've got the likes of David Aliu there, Damond Watt, Paul Sturgis. They are guys that are high-quality players. They've all played in America at some point, and that's a key factor as well. Having that American experience, as we spoke about last week, if you can get semi-professional or professional experience, it's a big difference.
It is a big difference,
It's
isn't it?
just interesting hearing about getting a coach in like John Coffino, who's obviously had all that experience. It's so different from the likes of experience that I've seen in ice hockey, where if you're looking for a coach, you're looking for a player coach, because you're looking for somebody who can still actually play at a competitive level, that sort of elite level, that they can bring something to the British guys and help them develop, but at the same time be a star player themselves. Basketball's not quite like that, is it?
No, the basketball guys are generally, they will have playing experience at some point, otherwise it's clear to see a coach that doesn't know what he's on about. It's clear cut. But you always find it's the guys that have been around the game a long time, that certainly know the mentality of the game, and then that know what they want to bring to a team. And that's exactly what John's done at the Phoenix this year.
So you hit the nail on the head there, because in the past, in American football, and I seem to recall it in basketball, there always seem to be ex-players in the NBA or whatever, or in a high league, that come over and they come here as player coaches because they still want to.
Yeah.
They still want to tout
They're
their
trying to find
wares.
somewhere where they're considered competitive.
Yeah, and they've still got a chance.
I think a big name like that's going to be a draw for that team as well. Get bums in seats if they'll have nice time or court time. So it's a win-win.
Well, another big factor to obviously doing well as a team is having the facilities to be able to bring that team up to a standard. Now, one thing John mentioned there was the fact that the Cheshire Phoenix will be moving next year. They're moving from the Northgate Arena where they currently play, and they have they've created a nice atmosphere there. We've spoken about it in previous episodes. The likes of Solihull. If you go to the rink at Solihull, it's intimidating. You're scared to walk on the ice there because you know you've got the Solihull team of a high quality and the fans that want to rip you apart, essentially.
Now, I know that Chester or Cheshire have always had a team based at Northgate Arena anyway, because my partner Sue Clark, she used to be do like physio stuff for the Chester Jets, and she was always in and about players. There were all these big American basketball players all lolling around in like in Cheshire Oaks and stuff like that, you know, in the shopping centres, and they had a bit of an entourage with them and that. But it was that kind of aura they created. But that seemed to be like years ago, and I wasn't aware of it still going on. And that's what I was kind of getting at before. But I don't think it's publicised enough. I mean,
but it's interesting as well when you say that about basketball players playing in the UK with an aura around them. It does seem to me that British basketball does have that kind of celebrity status that the other North American sports that are played in this country doesn't have.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have, other than star players like Vernon Kay who are stars outside of American football. You wouldn't have the Merseyside Nighthawks. You wouldn't have the Merseyside Nighthawks stopped in the street or going out with an entourage, really, would you? Some of them might.
Some of them think they've got entourages.
Well, on that point, you've got the likes of Paul Sturge. I know I keep referring to the Knicks. They're a good, close team to my heart. They're my favourite BBL team if I've had to put my money where my mouth is. But they've got the likes of Paul Sturgis. Now, he's an ex-Harlem Globetrotter.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And the reason he came to the BBL was he was looking for competitive basketball.
And
that didn't take it off.
Oh, hello, guys. We're back to where we were.
It was like stereo.